All right, fire up those welding torches, everyone, because today we're going deep on Boilermaker interviews.
We've got the blueprints right here, thanks to RoleCatcher.
That's right, RoleCatcher, a
Yeah.
site dedicated to helping folks move up in their careers.
We're going to help you build up the skills and knowledge to really stand out from everyone else trying to get that same job,
Because let's face it, boilermaking is a vital role.
keeping industries going. I mean, everything from power plants to factories, ships, all that.
It's serious stuff. And for those who might not know all the ins and outs,
RoleCatcher defines it as, well, they fabricate, assemble, install, and repair.
boilers, pressure vessels, those big containers holding liquids and gases.
Exactly.
So we're going to walk through RoleCatcher's guides and even see how AI can give you an edge.
Let's kick things off with those interview questions. RoleCatcher gave us a bunch of common ones.
Let's unpack them. Starting with, describe your experience with welding and fabrication. Seems pretty straightforward.
It does, but you can make your answer really stand out.
Okay, what are they really trying to find out with this question?
They want to see how deep your knowledge and experience go, you know?
So don't just say, I'm good at welding.
Right, exactly.
Yeah,
Talk about the types of welding you've done, especially the ones that are super important for boiler making.
like what are some examples that would impress them?
Think about the materials you've worked with. Carbon steel, stainless steel, maybe even some more exotic alloys.
Oh, fancy.
Gotta mention that high-pressure welding experience, that's crucial for boilers.
Makes sense. Show them you can handle the pressure, literally.
Right. And be specific about your techniques, MIG, TIG, stick, flux cord, and talk about projects where you use those techniques.
Okay, so it's about showing you're versatile, that you can handle whatever boiler making throws at you.
Exactly. And remember, details, details, details.
So tell them about the challenges you faced on those projects.
Yes. How did you overcome them? Did you have to change up your technique at all? Did you spot a problem before it got huge?
Because that kind of stuff shows you're a problem solver.
Exactly. You're paying attention to those details.
Okay, so we've got welding down. What about fabrication?
Talk about your experience with cutting, shaping, and putting together metal components.
Have you worked on those big scale projects?
Have you had to figure out those complex blueprints, those designs?
And bring them to life.
Yeah. Did you use any specialized equipment like hydraulic presses or bending rolls?
So basically, paint a picture of your hands-on experience. Show them you can make those designs a reality.
Right. And keep in mind, they might hit you with follow-up questions like,
Oh, like what?
tell me about a time you had to weld in a tight space, or describe a project where you had to meet those super strict tolerance requirements.
So be prepared to show you can work under pressure and deliver top-notch results.
Exactly.
All right, so we've tackled that first question, and it's clear that preparation is key.
Oh, for sure.
But even with all the prep in the world, interviews can be nerve-wracking.
Totally. But that's where RoleCatcher's AI comes in.
Oh, yeah, that AI stuff.
It analyzes job descriptions and gives you feedback on your answers.
So you can tailor your responses to exactly what they're looking for.
Exactly. It's all about practicing the right answers for that specific job.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So it's not just about practicing your answers, it's about practicing the right ones for the job you want.
Exactly. They even have AI that can analyze your video responses,
Well, really.
give you feedback on how you're speaking, your body language, all of that.
Like a virtual coach?
Pretty much.
That's awesome. Okay, let's move on to the next question from RoleCatcher. What safety precautions do you take when working in a high-risk environment?
Safety is so important.
Yeah, got to make sure you're on top of that.
Definitely.
So how do you impress them with your answer? Go beyond the basics.
Don't just list off the PPE like the helmet and gloves and all that. Talk about how you're proactive about safety.
Okay, I like that.
So how do you spot potential hazards before you even start working? Do you use a job safety analysis or something similar?
Show them you've got a safety mindset, not just that you know the rules.
Exactly. And be ready to talk about specific safety protocols for boiler making.
Like what?
Things like lockout procedures for isolating energy sources.
Right.
Or how crucial ventilation is when you're welding in confined spaces.
Important stuff. What about those follow-up questions they love to throw in?
Oh, they might ask about a time you had to stop work because of a safety issue.
Makes sense.
Or how you would handle a coworker who wasn't following safety procedures.
Tricky. So they're really trying to see how you handle those tough situations.
Exactly. It's all about your judgment and your commitment to keeping everyone safe.
Okay, so we've covered welding and fabrication, talked about safety.
What's next?
Let's talk blueprints. Question number 3 is, what is your experience with blueprint reading? That's got to be important.
It's fundamental, but some people don't realize how crucial it is.
How do you make sure your answer really hits the mark?
Just be honest about your skill
If
level.
you've got formal training, definitely mention that.
Yeah, and even if you learned on the job, highlight how you've used blueprints to get projects done successfully.
Like, could you give me an example of what that might sound like?
Sure, you could say something like, I'm a visual learner, and I've found that studying blueprints helps me understand the whole project.
Okay.
I've used them to identify welding points, figure out pipe diameters, and make sure my work is accurate.
That's a good way to show you pay attention to detail.
And that you know how to use blueprints to make sure things are done right.
To really stand out, could you talk about a time you had to figure out a super complex blueprint?
Yes. Or even a time you spotted a mistake that saved everyone time and hassle.
Now that's initiative.
It shows you're proactive and that you understand how vital blueprints are for accuracy and safety.
All right, so we've hit welding, fabrication, safety, blueprint reading.
Seems like we're covering all the bases.
But wait, there's more. RoleCatcher's got 9 sample questions in total, so we're just getting started.
You're right. Each question is a chance to really show off your skills and experience.
So let's dive into the next one.
Let's do it. All right, welcome back to our deep dive on how to absolutely crush that Boilermaker interview.
We've covered some good stuff already.
We have, but we're about to get even deeper into those welding skills.
All right, bring on the heat.
That's right. Question number 4 from RoleCatcher asks you to describe your experience with different types of welding techniques.
So they want to make sure you can handle the heat, literally.
Exactly. You really want to showcase your mastery here.
So it's got to be more than just listing off types of welding. Right?
Oh, yeah. It's about showing that you really understand when and why you'd choose one technique over another.
Okay, so like...
If you mention MIG welding, be ready to explain what makes it better or worse than TIG welding, for example.
Gotcha. And don't forget to mention those certifications.
Oh, those are important.
Those are like gold stars on your resume.
Definitely. And even better if you can connect those certifications to real projects.
Like, I got my ASME Section 9X certification while working on a pressure vessel project for a big refinery.
Now, that's impressive. It shows you can walk the walk.
Okay, so you've wowed them with your welding knowledge.
What's next?
Let's see how you handle those tricky problems on the job.
Ah, yes. Question number 5.
It asks, can you describe a time when you had to troubleshoot and solve a problem on the job?
A classic behavioral question.
They love those. Any tips on telling a story that'll really make it stand out?
The key is to pick a situation that shows you can think things through and find solutions, even when things are hectic.
And make sure it's relevant to boiler making.
Of course.
So maybe a time you had to fix a bad weld in a tight spot,
Perfect example.
or when you spotted a safety hazard before it turned into a disaster.
Those are great. And remember the STAR method. Situation, task, action, result.
Right, STAR. So set the scene, describe the problem, explain what you did, and highlight the good outcome.
It's all about structure.
Make it clear, keep it concise, make it memorable.
And don't forget to mention the skills you used. Problem solving, critical thinking, communication.
Those are always a good thing to highlight.
Exactly. Employers love that stuff.
Okay, so you've tackled a tough welding problem, but how do you make sure your work always meets those high standards?
That brings us to question number 6. How do you ensure that you are meeting quality standards when completing a project?
It's all about that attention to detail.
It is. Boilermaking is serious business. They need to know you're not cutting corners.
So what kind of things should you emphasize in your answer?
Talk about your process.
Okay.
Do you double-check your measurements?
Mm-hmm.
What tools do you use for quality control?
Do you constantly refer back to the blueprints?
Do you ask for feedback from more experienced colleagues?
It's all about showing that you're committed to doing things right.
And that you're willing to go the extra mile.
And that you understand that quality is a team effort.
Right. You're not working in a vacuum here.
Even though you're working with metal.
Exactly. Which leads us to question number 7. How do you approach working with a team on a project?
Ah, yes, the teamwork question.
This is where they want to see how well you get along with others.
And how you work together to get things done.
Exactly. What are some key points to hit on here?
Communication is huge.
Huge.
Talk about how you clearly share information, listen to others, and throw in your own ideas respectfully.
It's not just about talking, though, right? You got to be a good teammate.
Oh, absolutely. Being willing to lend a hand, offering encouragement, celebrating those team wins.
That's what they want to see.
And don't be afraid to talk about challenges you've faced in teams and how you overcame them.
It shows you're self-aware, that you can learn and grow.
All right, we're on a roll here. 2 more to go.
Let's see. What experience do you have with heavy machinery and equipment?
That one seems like a given for a Boilermaker.
It should be, but you gotta go beyond the obvious.
So don't just say, I've operated a crane.
Right. Tell them the specific types of equipment you've used
Oh, and the safety protocols you followed.
and any certifications or training you have.
Definitely mention if you've maintained or fixed equipment too.
It shows you really understand how these machines work.
Tie it back to specific projects.
Like, while I was working on a power plant construction project, I operated a hydraulic bender to make custom pipe fittings.
Yeah, that's a good answer.
Don't shy away from talking about challenges you faced with equipment. Maybe you had to learn a new type of crane or fix a welding machine that was acting up.
Those stories show you can adapt and solve problems.
Exactly. Okay, last question on the list. What experience do you have with piping and plumbing systems?
It's got to be pretty important for boiler making.
It is. Boilers are often part of bigger piping and plumbing systems.
So you need to know how they all work together.
Right. What should you highlight here?
Talk about your experience with different types of pipes, fittings, and valves.
Have you installed them, repaired them, maintained them?
Do you understand those basic plumbing principles?
And any certifications related to piping and plumbing are a big plus.
Definitely. You could even mention projects where you worked with plumbers or pipe fitters.
It shows you're a team player and you understand how different trades work together.
Okay, we've covered a lot of ground. Those key questions they love to ask in a Boilermaker interview.
We sure have.
And we gave some insights into what they're really looking for.
And how to give those knockout answers.
But hold on, there's more to come.
We're not done yet.
Now that you know the questions and how to answer them, let's see how RoleCatcher's AI tools can take your prep to the next level.
Because technology can really give you a personalized edge.
In the next part of our deep dive, we'll explore those AI features and how they can help you craft those perfect answers and get personalized feedback.
And we'll take a look at what a career as a Boilermaker really looks like from the beginning all the way to those senior roles.
So stay tuned. Okay, we're back and ready to turbocharge your Boilermaker interview prep using AI.
It's really cool how tech can make your job search more personalized.
We've gone over those tough questions, but RoleCatcher has some AI features that can seriously boost your game.
Their AI engine analyzes job descriptions.
So it can find exactly what skills and experience employers are looking for.
Exactly.
So no more sending out the same resume everywhere.
Right. You can fine-tune it to each specific job and highlight the best parts of your qualifications.
So it's not just about keywords, it's about understanding the whole job description and making your skills really stand out.
Exactly. It helps you talk about your skills in a way that hiring managers actually care about.
Makes sense.
Mm.
Okay, so you've got a great resume thanks to AI, but what about those interview answers?
Remember those 9 sample questions we talked about?
Yep.
RoleCatcher's AI can actually analyze your video responses.
Whoa, seriously? How does that work?
It gives you feedback on how you're talking, your tone of voice, even your body language.
It's like having a personal interview coach.
Right there in your pocket.
But does it really work for something as specific as boiler making?
Absolutely. It's trained on tons of information about the industry.
So it can give you advice that's actually useful for those specific skills and knowledge you need for boiler making jobs. That's amazing. So it helps you come up with the right answers and deliver them with confidence.
It even points out areas where you might need to brush up on your knowledge or practice some more.
Okay, so AI is awesome, but we can't forget about the human side of things.
Right. What does a long-term career as a Boilermaker actually look like?
What does RoleCatcher's career guide, Boilermaker, say about that?
Well, it shows a clear path for moving up from entry level all the way to senior positions.
With more responsibility and more money as you go.
Exactly. So what are those key milestones?
Yeah, how do you climb that ladder?
It all starts with the apprenticeship.
Where you're learning the ropes and getting those core skills down.
You will be working alongside those experienced Boilermakers.
Lots of hands-on experience.
Cutting, shaping, welding, assembling, building that strong foundation for your career.
And then as you gain experience, you start doing more on your own.
Exactly. As a junior Boilermaker, you take on more tasks independently, operate machinery more confidently, and even start doing quality inspections.
So it's a gradual thing, building up your skills and confidence over time.
And then, as you become an experienced Boilermaker, you might lead a team, oversee projects, mentor those junior colleagues.
So you're not just building boilers anymore, you're building up the next generation of Boilermakers.
It's really fulfilling.
And as you go even further, you might specialize in a specific area, like pressure vessels, power plant boilers, or even boilers for ships.
Right, there are lots of ways to grow.
But it's not all about promotions.
Right.
You got to keep learning and stay up to date with new tech.
That's so important.
The field is always changing.
You got to stay ahead of the curve.
So how do you do that? How do you stay current?
RoleCatcher mentions some good resources in their guide,
Oh, yeah, like what?
like the International Brotherhood of Boilermakers.
I've heard of them.
They have training and certification programs
And I bet there are industry conferences and publications too.
to keep you in the loop on all the latest trends.
You got to be proactive and invest in yourself.
The more you learn, the more valuable you become.
And don't forget about those soft skills. Communication, problem solving, teamwork, all that good stuff.
Those are always in demand, no matter what technology comes along.
Okay, so we've tackled those tough interview questions.
We have.
We saw how RoleCatcher's AI can give you a leg up on the competition.
It can.
And we even got a glimpse into that exciting career path waiting for you in the boilermaking world.
A bright future ahead.
So listener, you're equipped and ready to nail that interview and build an amazing career.
You got this.
Don't forget to check out those resources from RoleCatcher. And remember, the future of boilermaking is bright.
And you have the power to be a part of it.
That's it for our deep dive today. Thanks for joining us.